All right, we got a good one for you today. Today we're going to learn the K aerial, K like the letter, so named because of the Kingsguard drill team from Honolulu, Hawaii, who popularized this move, kind of brought it to the forefront of our collective consciousness. One of the strongest civilian drill teams ever to perform pretty much of all time. So definitely get on YouTube and check out Kingsguard Hawaii if you've not seen them. The movement called the K aerial, so named because it is an aerial, looks like this. Right? We have a prep, a lifting and twisting, and then a catch of the rifle. And this is a great move for our advancing drillers, even our newer drillers that are kind of advancing past their basics, because it teaches us a couple of things. It teaches us about how the push and the pull on the rifle really affects its rotation. It gets us to let go of the rifle as we kind of release it, that aerial component, maybe without the safety issues of learning doubles. It's definitely easier, but at the same time, it still teaches us about the release of the rifle. And most importantly, it teaches us about what the receiver of the rifle wants to make the rifle do, which is that anytime we put this in motion, it wants to continue its motion. And depending on where we release with relation to the receiver, because it's off center, it's going to allow the rifle to continue to rotate kind of how maybe we want it to rotate. So we're going to break this down. We start at port arms. We want to make sure that our arm is parallel, because the first thing we're going to do is drop the rifle down until our arm is more straight, but without hyperextending. We still want a slight bend in that elbow. At the same time that we lower that rifle, we are going to strike the inside of the upper handguard, wrapping our thumb around to the outside of the rifle so that we have a prep position that looks like so. Grabbing the inside of the rifle is key because it's allowing our wrist to wind up. It's putting a little bit of tension in the arm, and it's allowing our thumb to be firmly connected to the outside of the rifle. So our prep position is here. From here, all we're going to do is raise the rifle up until balance point 1, the center of the rifle, is about at our face level. So do that a couple times. From here, we can rotate the rifle like a pinwheel until the barrel is pointing down and the butt plate is pointing up. And sometimes I like to have people do this, right, is you can let go and the rifle's gonna fall straight down. Well, obviously that's because of the positioning of the receiver. But these are the two motions that are gonna get that rifle going the way that we want it to go. So once we're comfortable with dropping down, lifting up, and turning over, the next thing I encourage people to do is to turn the rifle over beyond being perpendicular to the ground. So we go to the prep, and we lift, and we turn until the receiver is past that vertical position, and we start to blend these moves together. So prep, lift, overturn becomes prep, lift, overturn. Notice that the lifting motion and the turning motion terminate at the same time. In other words, we're not lifting first and then turning. We are doing those at the exact same time. From there, we can talk about the release. Now, if we were to lift and twist and stop the rifle here and just kind of let it go, you'll see that the receiver naturally wants to fall towards the ground. If we don't terminate that twisting motion and instead let the momentum carry around, the receiver is going to continue to rotate until it runs out of steam because it's coming back on the upswing, and the rifle will fall into our hands. So when we do this, we have our prep, our lift, and our raise, and we're just trying to get our left hand underneath the rifle and our right hand at the small of the stock. We don't really care where while we're learning, just that the lift and twist is smooth, it's exiting the hand, and because the receiver has gone past vertical with no hitch in that rotation, it's falling down into our hands to complete the aerial. Notice that's a little bit different than tossing the rifle up and letting go of it immediately. We are lifting and twisting and letting it fall down. And that's a really important distinction as we're learning this for the first time. Once we have that fundamental movement down, we can start to clean up where our hands go. And ideally, we're looking for an ending position that mimics our starting one. Hand in the middle of the upper handguard on the left side, small of the stock on the right side. And as we learn how to control that spin, we can kind of play around with how fast or how slow we go, how quickly we twist the rifle. We can even play around with catching it in different places. For example, I put a little bit more spin on it and I let it fall, I can catch it at a 45-degree angle. I put a little bit less, I can catch it right back at port arms where I started. And this is why it's such a great maneuver for learning kind of how the rifle wants to naturally twist and turn with the forces that are exerted on it. We can do it low and tight. We can do it high and floaty. And all those variables are going to help us lock in. Now, when we want to go and do this with multiple people, we obviously need to have a defined way that we're going to move through those counts. Down, out, and catch. Down, out, catch. Down, out, and catch. We want to make sure that everyone's approaching it with the same kind of timing as we move through it, so that we don't have one person firing off low and fast and another high and floaty. Even though they're ending at the same time, we kind of want to define what's happening in the middle. So how do we do that? Number one is using our words to dictate the speed. Down, out, and catch implies down, out, and catch. A nice, floaty, relaxed one. Down, out, grab, down, out, grab implies a little bit tighter of a spin, right? So we want to define with our words what we think the rifle should be doing, and then we want to clean how high or how low the rifle is being raised, right? So if everyone's releasing it at face height, but somebody's releasing it at chest height, we might want to bring that person up or bring everyone else down. So a lot of, again, things that we can adjust, variables that we can play with that allow this movement to be really, really versatile, not just for learning, but also in our routine. So that's the K aerial. Give it a shot, try it out, and have fun.